I got my beautiful bride Chantel with me. We are Carlos and Chantel, and known for being Amish matchmakers. We help Amish singles find a godly spouse, have epic marriages, and create legacies rooted in faith and freedom. Good job. So thanks for joining us again. And we are kind of cozy here in our living room, just enjoying the fire this morning. But we come to you live, raw, unscripted. And this morning I was talking with the men at 5 a.m. And by the way, we are grateful when you comment, and we get to see those comments here as they come in. And I wanted to welcome my TikTok channel. I just renamed it as well, Amish Matchmakers. Same with the YouTube channel, Amish Matchmakers, and then on my personal Facebook page. So welcome everyone that's viewing this and taking the time out to check in. So my topic with the men this morning was about we talked about being calm in under pressure situations and what that looks like when conflict rises up, arguments, fights, or any situation. And then we talked about where conflict resides. I did some research a little bit this morning about the top 3 most looked up things that couples have conflicts in. And that is actually communication. Mm-hmm. That is finances and intimacy, actually. So we addressed some of those things and what that looks like. And then I was asking the men too how they handle things when things start becoming intense and pressure building up and conflict rising. What does it look like for them to to address those things? And so one of the things where I told the story, and I want to get your perspective on it before we get into talking about this and asking you questions, but is, high stress situations. We talked about breathing, the power of breathing, right? And that actually God has empowered us. He's not given us a spirit of shrinking back or fear, doubt, feeling small, but it's given us the power of supernatural power, dunamis, and he's given us love, supernatural love, and he's given us a sound mind, self-discipline, self-control that we must do in order to breathe well and master our emotions. So anyways, I shared the story about when that semi wrecked right in front of us and then caught on fire. And it was interesting as I was telling the story, I remembered, I was like, yeah, that was first. And I was like, no, it's not. It's not the first time that's ever happened to me. It's happened to me twice in my life. But the other time would have been like 15 years ago or 16 before we were even married. Remember that situation happened in Utah where that car wrecked in front of me. And I was thinking back and I'm like, wow, my growth, my self-control, my leadership, my thoughts and capabilities have grown so much and evolved and developed. That time I didn't do anything. I kept driving. I remember sharing with you, I'm like, I didn't know what to do and I did nothing. And this time that semi wrecked right in front of us, we instantly pulled over. We were willing to do something about it. And I just want to hear your perspective on that because that was very high tension in the moment. Like when you're facing a very traumatic, so trauma, it's be a high trauma response, traumatic. I know just for those of you who've never heard our story or know much about us, if this is your first time listening in, Chantel's experience in dealing with trauma and working with people and youth that have experienced high trauma is she spent by the time we met in 2010, yeah, we met in 2010. By that time, she'd already spent over 11 years working, or 10 years, I guess, at that point or so. But anyways, point being is with abused and neglected children. And she worked in a home, worked in 2 different homes, actually, that
children's shelters.
Shelters, there you go. Yeah, of kids that were taken from their home because of different situations, circumstances, whether it's drug, alcohol abuse, neglect, like lots of different reasons. But then she had to learn to work with them and help them through their trauma and triggers. And that's where out of that came our process of Triggers to Triumph that you introduced to me, and I've helped introduce to many others, and we've done it together and helped others with that. But point being is like you understand trauma in those circumstance situations, power of breathing, the power of staying calm in the midst of where there's a lot of chaos. And I was sharing how, man, I slammed on the brakes and avoided the semi as it, you know, went crazy and sideways and kind of jackknifed and then wrecked into the side. But from your perspective, what did you experience? Tell the story, and what did you see? How did we handle it? I love hearing stories. So
Man, I don't know that I handled it or experienced it much different than you, other than, having awareness and, you know, it was late. We had just flown in and we had our car parked at the airport. And so we were tired. We were ready to go home. So I think, number one, I was grateful that you were aware enough and vigilant in, you know, your driving. And then, I don't remember it being even a question whether we were going to pull over or not. We just did. And, both of us felt that strong, and it was just an instant, response. Um, I do remember, you being very bossy.
That's awesome.
In what I was able to do or not do, right? I obviously called the first responders right away, called the police, called for help. And Carlos immediately went and was checking on the driver and, seeing what was happening, kind of assessing the situation. And, as soon as I got near the truck trying to, see what I could do, immediately he was like, go back to the truck, this thing,
back off. The semi's on fire.
Yeah, like, he was concerned of it exploding, because of the gas and all of those kind of things. So, but I also felt protected in that, right?
Well, I talked about a little bit earlier, like in a stressful situation, you got Hulu, right? Your awareness of observe, and I can't even remember what it stands for. I just kind of, that's right. She knows. I figured she might remember. Orient, OODA loop. I'd have to look it up, quite honestly. But it is an awareness of what's around. And my first priority is our safety. Second priority is make sure she's safe. She's mama. She's my wife. And so that was, but yet it's funny. Just you're very bossy. Because like, boom, I went into the moment of just like, bam, bam, bam. I was like, call first responders. I'm going to go.
Well, I called right away. I was on the phone trying to see if I could help. And he was like, get back in the truck. He didn't want me anywhere near the scenario.
Yeah, because once it was on fire, but then it was awesome because like I shared, the tow truck shows up. That was both of us were kind of like taken back a little bit. How many cars just kept driving by? Like, it slowed down. They had to go around the semi. Like, literally, its trailer was taking up 3/4 of the freeway. There was a little narrow one lane that wasn't blocked, and all these cars were just passing by, like looking, slowing down, looking, and then keep going. And then this one lonely tow truck, and it was like a private tow truck, some guy that was, that worked for himself, and he pulled over, and I remember it was crazy. He pulled over, and then you immediately asked him. So Chantel was still in action, right? Like we were both. No, I think part of that as a team is knowing your roles and knowing that, she was better off communicating with first responders and emergency services while I was assessing the situation at the truck. And I did. There was a fire. Like there was a fire in the back of the truck.
So I've got the OODA loop. It's,
Awesome.
observe, orient, decide, and act.
There we go.
Right.
Observe, orient,
Decide,
and act. Yep. So that was literally, we went through that. We've trained on that before and actually learned and through training on the OODA loop. It's a military tactic. It's a self-defense tactic. So that was what we did in that moment. And it's funny. Get back. There's a fire. I remember yelling at you. And I was in the passenger side of the semi truck. Window was busted out.
And the guy's leg was jammed.
And I remember I was talking him through, and he was passed out, and he was not making sense. He was barely waking up. And then thank God for the tow truck driver, because he came and then you said told him there was a fire, and he got a fire extinguisher and put it out, and then he and I dragged the guy out of the truck. So the point of saying all that is, we had to stay calm, both of us. Yeah, I was barking orders and like. But then you went into action too, and then you, even like I said, you were on it when that tow truck driver got there. You're like, "Hey, the fire, you have a fire extinguisher." Like you immediately asked him to grab that, and he did. Thank God had one, because that's like right, take action. That's the assessment was observing. The assessment was, yeah, there's a fire. We got to deal with that. Like it's important, and we did. And then we got the guy out, and then we left. We went home. I remember we ended up going home after that, and it was like, I guess we don't do anything else. I guess we just go home. So, anyways.
Well, I know you talked about it this morning, but what? Yeah. So what is
the whole thing is the handling of that and recognizing a story where there was something very traumatic that happened in the moment, like instantaneous. We see all these different things happening where there's shootings, there's fires, there's accidents, like car accidents, there's a kid getting their arm cut. If you have a child or something, like how do you handle all these situations? I'm just, again, it was addressing the fact that when there's high stress, how do we handle it? How do we stay calm in the moment? And so I wanted to get your feedback on that because that was a real scenario. And
well, I think breathing is a big part of it for sure.
Breathing, controlling your breath, and taking a second. That was another thing. I remember sitting in the not the van, how funny I thought it was a van, truck for a moment and being like, okay, what are we doing? And doesn't matter. I can say when was it, but I don't remember. It's about a year ago. Anyways, how my brain works. Okay, so question then. What does it feel like emotionally when a man stays calm during a high tense or a traumatic situation?
Well, I definitely feel like, it brings a safety and security, right? To know that you're protected, that he's capable of protecting. Because the truth of the matter is, if a man panics and is out of control during a high stress situation, then it definitely just feeds insecurity. Thanks, Jay. It feeds insecurity, and then sure. Then it's almost like you have another crisis to deal with.
Yeah.
Compounding. So if you have one trauma and then you have, a panic or chaos, it just compounds and it grows the situation bigger, and then it's more to deal with. So it
really like you have to step up too. Then.
Well, yeah, that
as a woman.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, that's what women do.
Yeah.
It's what women do, and sometimes it's what we've had to do, especially, in a population of men that have been emasculated. There's a society of men that have, they're no longer trained for a battle. They're trained to sit behind a computer or a screen or whatever. So, they respond differently.
Good point.
Maybe there's gamers who tactically speaking have a brain for, that kind of thing, which is great. But at the same time, when you're dealing with the physical, first response of what a traumatic experience, there's not a lot of training for that, and that's why I'm such a fan of like team sports, things that require you to be on your A game, to have a tactical response initially.
Readiness.
A readiness. Yeah. That's why self-defense
Where
is important. That's why, we feel passionate about those things and about training our people in our community in those kind of things, and just being physically ready, right?
Health and fitness.
How do you I mean, yeah, again, adrenaline, there's a lot to be said for adrenaline, right? Adrenaline allows us to, kind of do supernatural things in the moment. Um, but again, are we proactive in setting ourselves up for success in handling scenarios? Are we trained, like even ice baths, like that's part of, doing the ice baths. It's not necessarily about like, oh, the ice bath itself and the benefits of it. Yes, it is, but it's also a training, a habitual, like how are we breathing through these kind of scenarios, right? How are we regulating our system? So there's so much more, so much in the dimensions of, some of the things that we do or that you would experience at our epic intensives, right?
Yep.
Physical fitness, self-defense, the ice baths, all of those things are just a side benefit, but it's all in a holistic picture of, how we want to equip people
It's really good.
to handle, traumatic experience. Life, right? Life throws curveballs, and if we have no awareness or, you know, uh, like, we haven't trained in a response. And that's also, going back to our Epic 30, that's the emotional side of it. That's the connective side of it, in relationships is being proactive of, you know, when the shit storms of life that hit,
right.
and our identity has been challenged, we're spiraling downward because we're human, right? We all spiral. We all have moments. I mean, Lord have mercy, at this age, now we're dealing with like perimenopause, you have hormone stuff going on, you have,
Sure.
The massive amounts of men who are low on testosterone. Like we're dealing with a lot as a planet, as a people. And so, we need to have solutions, proactive solutions, preparedness solutions to, to get through this stuff.
Yeah, I realized when I use that example, I had no proactive understanding at that point in my life. I was 30 something when that happened.
You're talking about the
first time, yeah. When I was in Utah. Sorry. And it's like I wasn't prepared. And I remember the typical response is going to be fight or flight, freeze, avoidance, like, and that's what I did in that moment. Like I froze. I remember just like seeing the car crash against the concrete, and I'm like, that just happened in front of me. That just what in the world just happened? And I froze, and I just kept driving. I was like, I remember being frozen in that moment, not knowing what to do. See, and that's what is going to be the typical response. Now, I bring that up about an accident, right? But the reality is, now let's go to an argument. Let's go to an argument in a home, a spouse, husband and wife, with a child, with a teenager, with a best friend, with a business partner. Like there's so many different examples with your sibling, or maybe if it's a roommate, you live with someone and you feel it escalating, right? It can turn very quickly into a traumatic situation. It's like, what do we do with those situations? Because it does matter if we're prepared for it. Preparation for it, and we talked about Wim Hof this morning a little bit too, about breathing, how much that is connecting
Mhm.
to it. Like the experts will tell you, hey, you can do a simple thing of just stop, pause, don't say anything else, and pause for 10 seconds and focus on your breathing.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, even in the children's shelter, right? You know, you're dealing with high at risk teenagers, kids who have been systematized. They've, maybe been out of the street, because a lot of them tend to like AWOL and then, enter into like prostitution, and it's survival, right? So, you definitely have, especially when you have 12 female teenagers on the same unit, it can be pretty hairy at times, right?
Mhm.
Um, but breathing was a big one, and then even like, taking a moment when things are escalating to say, just count backwards from 20. Like, just take a second and count backwards. Like, that was one of the like instant go-tos that I had like back in the day, but then it's also, teaching communication. It's
Right.
breathing and communicating is important.
Asking questions instead of accusations, instead of accusing.
Right. And owning your feelings, right? So, teaching people that, the blame game is never gonna produce a beneficial result.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so we have to own our feelings. We have to own our responses, and so, you know, it's important to add that into your communication, right? So
Well, another thing I touched on, I had an hour this morning. We don't have that much time today,
right.
but because we have other appointments we got to jump to. But I was, even talking about how in your wisdom, Chantel, and I realized this should be a thing that we should teach people, is Chantel and her wisdom would be, can you just hold me? And recently I discovered this thing where they talk about um, hugging, no words, no nothing, just hold each other. And again, it doesn't have to even be your spouse, it could be a friend, a brother, anybody. But it's really just listening to each other, breathing, hugging. Like some of you are like uncomfortable with that already. I can feel the guys being like, oh, whether it's your wife even or another man, you'd be like, what? That's weird.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's science behind it. Like you've got the heartbeat, you've got the breathing. Again, going back to breathing, it's starting to escalate. If you had an agreement, like, hey, especially as a spouse, yeah, you've got an argument, some fight escalating, and it's happened with us. Like Chantel's like, stop trying to fix it. Can you just hold me? And I realized that is such wisdom. We have done that several times where it's just, I don't need to fix that. Sometimes we just need to come together, physically hug, and so there's a one study that talks about 3 minutes.
Regulating.
Yeah, 3 minutes can actually cause you to calm down. It's enough time. It's not too much time, but it's enough time where you just stop focusing on all the problems and the hate and the rage that you're feeling. If you can have that agreement, it's amazing what it will change. And I've seen it in us. Like when you've said that, it's super awesome, super powerful, and just holding you in that moment. And sometimes there's some tears that get shed, but sometimes it's just a quiet, calm moment where we regroup and resync, come back into synchronicity with each other. So,
Yeah.
So again, try it out. Again, it's pregame. That's all this stuff we're talking about. It's like literally when you design and pregame your life, you're gonna have much better results in relationship. We talked about finances this morning. That's a high topic. Intimacy, like that would be a part of intimacy. Not syncing up. We're obviously not going to be very intimate.
I want to address why that's so powerful, right? Because we can tell you to do something all day long, but if you don't know why it's beneficial, then it doesn't matter. So, why in the heat of an argument is it powerful to stop and just, hold each other,
Yeah,
right? Um, well, number one, there's hormones that are released when we have physical touch.
it's good.
Right. So if it's the happy hormone is the oxytocin that happens. The other thing is if we're in an argument, there's something that happens. There's again the fight or flight kicks in. So there's that instinct that wants to disconnect.
Yeah.
So if we're choosing to connect in that moment, then we're actually overcoming the fight or flight response, and we're we're actually choosing to be each other's safe place.
It's good.
In the midst of what our fight or flight response wants to do, right? So you're overcoming that. That's really powerful when we're talking about mindset, when we're talking about, how we don't have to allow our emotions to control us. We're choosing then to come together and unite. And even if it's just like he said for 3 minutes, it returns us to safety. It brings us back to what really matters, right? Because anytime we're in an argument, there's, you know, we're focused on issues, we're focused on offenses, we're focused on pain or whatever it is. But when at the end of the day, if we can center ourselves back into like you and I are each other's safe place,
Good.
then that's what the feelings that take over. Then we can recalibrate, regulate our system, the nervous system calms down, all of those different things. So it's a really powerful tool to use.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but change your state in that moment.
Right.
Earlier, we had some men that were commenting about going for a walk, and we've done those things too, and we've recommended those things to people. It is amazing what it does. Going and taking a shower, releasing some things like a shower, the water cleansing over you. Again, the practical side of even religious activities are baptism, right? Mikvahs. Like again, it's funny how like taking a shower or a bath every day and taking a shower is like a miniature cleansing, and it does. Like there's studies about that, like what that does. It's amazing.
But it's only that if we're aware of it and
That's right.
our mindset is there, and so we're choosing in that moment to change our state. So we go take a shower and we're just allowing it to wash us. And that's a really healthy tool that I use often. And
like you're renewing yourself when you're in that water's flowing over you. You're thinking about it. I've done it too.
It's a release too. If you allow yourself to cry in the shower and all of those things, and God can really use that. It's by design that we are able to release through tears and to get clear. Sometimes we just need to do that so that we can gain some clarity.
Yeah, super good. So when dealing with finances, dealing with like intimacy, and even dealing with the lack of skills and communication, the bottom line is I think they're skills. All those are skills, like, and they all tie back to confidence, communication, commitment, like the 3 C's of love, 3 C's of intimacy that we talk about and work on constantly. If we're, again, that's the proactive side. Just like I said about that traumatic situation, 15 years later, the way I handled it was way different. And the way it was never even a second thought. Like we knew we were going to pull over and help. Like that was automatic. And that's weird because it was automatic because of the training that we've done.
Well, yeah. And I think, going back to like training team, right? Training to play team.
That's right.
Training to understand and know that there are different roles when we're playing team. And even in a scenario like that, right? It was divide and conquer, but we are a team and we're going to work this out together. And I think even handling finances in that way, handling intimacy in that way, like it's real. So understanding, really having the mindset and the desire and the awareness to like make your game plan a team plan.
Yeah.
Right? Not an individualistic, not something that divides you,
That's
but
right.
making it a game plan that is unifying, that is again bringing you back to the safety and security and knowing that you've got each other's back in whatever it is that you're handling.
So good. Thank you. Appreciate the wisdom. Bottom line is you gotta be it's proactive. We have lots of people come to us, tell us that all their problems and challenges they're facing. And I start to recognize it's kind of like that accident where I did nothing, I froze.
Yeah.
And then the second scenario where we had the skills, we had the training, it made us more confident, did great at communication, and we were committed to see the situation through. And then it wasn't about like, oh, praise or oh, we saved a life. I have no clue who that guy is. But I have no doubt there was a fire that truck was going to burn up. No doubt we saved his life, for sure. However, it wasn't about that. It was like we just went into action to love and bless and serve in that moment. Still don't know his name. I mean, we knew it at the time. We asked him and talked to him a little bit, but we left and went home and got some sleep. So it's real. And that's where I think it's important for all of y'all to invest in yourselves, invest in your relationship, invest in your personal identity and growth and development. It's worth it. Real quick, next Thursday. Yep, we got to jump on our other call. Next Thursday, though, there's for you singles out there, Jesse and Adina Kaufman, who host a community called Single to Married, are doing a free webinar. Go check it out. Seriously, it's worth it to gain and start developing those skills to have an epic marriage. But step one is developing yourself so you can find the one. He or she is out there and they're going to teach you some cool skills, and it's a free webinar. So check it out. Message us if you're interested. Say, yeah, I want to find the one, and we'll send you the link for that event a week from today, next Thursday evening. So hit us up and we'd be glad to send you to your best community. We know they use a lot of our content for developing those skills for getting engaged, single to married. So God bless you. We are Carlos and Chantel, Amish Matchmakers. We help Amish singles get a godly spouse, have epic marriages, and create legacies rooted in faith and freedom. We'll see you next time. Comment, like, share, subscribe. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.